All participants are in a listen-only mode for the duration of today's call. Please submit all questions in the chat pod of the WebEx to be addressed at the end of today's presentation. I would now like to turn the call over to your host, Wendy Peebles. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wendy Peebles, Census Bureau Economic Management Division. Today's webinar topic, we will provide a demonstration on DEX tips and go over some of the tools you can use to find answers when working in the system. We have an expert panel from the State Department, and the Census team is happy to host this webinar to bring you valuable information on the DEX. First, I'd like to start by thanking everyone for joining today's webinar. We have an informative webinar planned. And before we get started, just like to say that for the Q&A, we will be utilizing the chat feature. And when submitting your questions, please do not provide your company's name or any sensitive information. And please submit your questions to all panelists. The presenters will address as many questions as possible during the webinar, and their contact information will be provided for further follow-up. About a week following the webinar, the transcript, recording, and presentation will be posted to the Census website, and the website link will be provided via the chat. We also will have an evaluation at the end of the webinar, and so we value your feedback as this assists in planning future webinars. Before I turn it over to Chris, I would just like to share with you a few data tools that the Census Bureau has to offer. And the first is the COVID-19 Hub, and the Hub contains selected demographic and economic resource information to keep you updated on the pandemic. Census has recently added new data sets from the public, nonprofit, and private sector in partnership with FEMA to help guide your decision-making. For more information, just simply click on the feedback button when visiting the site. The data can be downloaded, and it is optimized to use on your desktop, laptop computer, tablet, or mobile devices. Also, we have the Census Business Builder. The Census Business Builder, or the CBB, as we like to call it, is a suite of services that provide selected demographic and economic data from the Census Bureau tailored to specific type of users in a simple-to-access and use format. The tool is very useful for small business owners who need key data for their business plans or to better understand their potential markets. And some of the features include easy-to-use menu and search tools for nearly all types of businesses, interactive maps to browse and download data about the selected area and type of business, and also it is also optimized for your smartphone or tablet, and it also has downloadable reports. So it's a nice little tool to use. And last but not least, I wanted just to mention to you about our Trade Source newsletter to keep you abreast of the latest trade information for expanding your business operations globally and to achieve compliance. The newsletter is published in January and July of each year, and we also have featured articles from some of our partnership agencies to include Customs and Border Protection and Ex-Im Bank. So I welcome you to visit Census site and check out some of our data tools. And at this time, I will turn it over to Chris to begin with the subject matter for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. I'd like to thank those here with us today for joining and participating in another Census DDTC webinar. We're always in the process of updating and improving DEX, so it's important to us to continue providing these presentations to make sure that you know the tips and tricks. And now, I'd like to introduce you to the team presenting at today's webinar. I'm Chris Radcliffe, and I'm responsible for producing some of the FAQ, documentation, and technical writing you see on our site. Lisa Parker and Charlie Liebetrau, who many of you have heard from before, lead our training and communications team. And Francis Moore, who supports our development team and liaises with other customer support teams. Today, we're going to go over several of those DEX tips and tricks I mentioned. We've been working with our help desk to come up with some of the most frequently asked questions, and we're going to set you up for success within DEX. We'll start off today's presentation by explaining how to attach documents to your registration application, followed by how to track your license in DEX, how a corporate administrator creates license groups, how an empowered official can sign and submit a license, and then we'll provide a preview of what's coming soon in DEX. After we cover all of those topics, Charlie will moderate a Q&A session. So we encourage everyone to enter your questions into WebEx at any point. All audience lines are going to be muted throughout the presentation, so we'll be sure to be monitoring the chat and make sure we collect all of those questions. So submitting a registration application without the correct documentation attached typically causes the application to be sent back to the user, either delaying the process for the registration, either delaying the approval process for their entire registration. So let's start out by walking you through how to upload a document when you're working on your registration application, and also how to upload a document after its submission. Once you're logged into DEX and on the Industry Portal homepage, click on the Applications drop-down menu located at the top of the page. It's right in the middle of the Industry Portal and Learning Tools hubs. Once that drop-down is extended, click on Registration. At this stage, you'll want to enter the registration application. So if you're filling out a registration for the first time, you'll want to click on New Registration. If you've already started a registration application, you'll want to click on Resume. Or if you're renewing, you'll see that your existing registration is located on your dashboard. So for the purpose of this demo, we'll enter the application through the renewal process. Once you're inside the registration application, fill out and review all of the information in the blocks listed. You'll be prompted to upload documentation once you've reached the final block. So again, for this demo, I'm going to navigate to block 11. So once you're here on block 11, scroll down until you see the supporting document section. You'll want to begin by clicking the Add Document drop-down menu and select which document type you'll be attaching first. You can see an expanded view of the drop-down menu on the right side of the screen. That indicates the document types that you can select. Once you've selected the document type that you'd like to attach, click on Choose File. That'll open up the File Explorer. So you're going to want to use the File Explorer to select the file that matches the document type that you selected in the Add Document drop-down menu. Once you've selected the appropriate file through the Explorer window, you'll see that your document is attached successfully. You'll also notice that the attached file type is hyperlinked. To verify that the attached document is correct, you'll want to click on that hyperlink to download the document and open it once it's finished downloading to double check that it's the correct one. And if you're unsure whether you attached the correct document, don't worry. Deleting and re-uploading is pretty easy. So to delete a document, click on the recycling bin icon next to the attached document as displayed on this page, and then just follow the steps that we just went through to reattach the correct one. So we just walked through attaching documentation to a registration application which has not yet been submitted. But what about attaching documents to an already submitted registration? Well, we come bearing good news. Users are still able to attach documentation even though the application's content isn't editable. So to do so, navigate to the registration landing page and start by clicking View Details. By clicking the View Details button, you should see a more in-depth and expanded view of your registration application. In this view, there are 4 tabs that allow you to navigate through the submitted registration. You'll want to click on the Send Documents tab on the far right. On this page, you'll want to follow the same steps we outlined previously to upload documentation as usual. Use the drop-down to select the document type. Once the document type is selected, click Choose File and navigate the File Explorer, which pops up to select the corresponding file type. Once a registration is submitted, users won't be able to delete information or documents from the application. So if you're uploading documents to an already submitted registration application, take your time and ensure that you're attaching the correct documents. Now I'm going to walk you through the process of tracking a submitted license via the Track Status feature in DEX. Start by navigating to the licensing dashboard by clicking the Applications drop-down menu and selecting Licensing, similar to how we did in the registration. Once you're on the licensing dashboard, click the Track Status button on the left side of the page. Here, you can see the status of all of your submitted licenses. So in the event that users would like to quickly search for specific licenses, we've provided a tool which kind of filters the Track Status page based on criteria entered. Click on the Filter Criteria bar to expand those filter options. The filter criteria fields allow users to narrow down which licenses they see on the Track Status page. For instance, the first filter is form type. If users selected the DSP5 from that dropdown and clicked search, the track status page would only display submitted DSP5 licenses. For this demo, we'll be filtering by a specific case number. So after entering the case number for a specific license in the case number field, click search. Notice that once we've clicked search, the case number we searched for appeared at the bottom of the page within the track status view. To expand that specific license view, click on the hyperlinked case number for the license. If users filter by other criteria, they would follow the same process by clicking on the corresponding case number for the license they'd like to review. Clicking on the case number expands the view into a detailed status of that specific license application. Here, users are able to view relevant information about the specific license they've selected, such as the license type, status, documentation attached, and more. And now that's it for track status. And I'd like to take this time to turn it over to my colleague, Lisa, to give an overview of the license access groups.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So now I'm going to walk everyone through the license access groups functionality. In DEX, corporate administrators can customize how their users view and access licenses within the company. This functionality helps you maintain security around your licenses so that only the right people see the right information. Our help desk receives a fair number of questions that can be solved by correctly configuring and managing your access group. A common problem that we hear, and I've actually seen come through in our chat today, is that someone cannot see a license that their colleague worked on or that they'd like to review. Today, I'm going to show you how to go through the steps to set this up. To begin, navigate to the licensing application and click on Access Groups. Remember that only corporate administrators can modify access groups. So if you do not see that button, go ahead and navigate to the user management application and verify that you are listed as a corporate administrator. You'll know that you are a corporate administrator if the CA checkbox is selected. If you are not listed as one and you believe that you should be, reach out to your company's current corporate administrator to modify your permissions. So now I am on the Access Groups landing page. Each company within DEX will have a default group to start. Members in the default group will have access to every license in your company. So your corporate administrator should only add users to that group if they really should see everything. So if I wanted to add users to this default group, I would click on the default group name. And then once I view users, I'd be able to see any existing users in the group. And if I wanted to add someone, click on Add Users. Here, I am prompted with a warning in yellow, reminding me that anyone added to this default group is going to see all of the licenses associated with my company. So in this case, I've decided what I actually want to do is create a custom group. So I'm going to go back to the Access Groups landing page. So here, I'm going to create a new group called the Blue Group. And I'm going to do this by typing in the name and clicking Add under the Add Group functionality. So diving into the Blue Group here, you can see that I don't have any users in here yet because it's brand new. And when I click on View Items, this is where I'd be able to see a list of licenses that are available to the Blue Group. But once again, since this is a brand new group, there aren't any licenses in here. So as we did with the default group, I'm going to go ahead to add users. You'll see I don't have that yellow warning here. And to add a user, type in the user's first and or last name into the search by name box. Then you'll select the user from the list and click Add. This is pulling from the list of users who are associated with your company, and all of that is configured by the corporate administrator in the user management application. So now, if I wanted to add licenses to this access group, I would click Add Item. Here you'll see a list of all the filters to search within your company to add licenses to this group. You can type in the status or who drafted it or the case number and hit search. Remember, the access group rules apply to both in-progress case view and submitted licenses. The big takeaway here is if you are looking for a license and you don't see it, or if you need your colleague to take a look at a license, make sure that you've configured your access groups with the right people and the right licenses, and then they will be able to see it on their dashboard. So now I'm going to go over some tips and tricks to make sure that your company's empowered official can review, sign, and submit licenses to DDTC. So first off, a good tip is that this functionality works best in Google Chrome. So in order to sign a license, your corporate administrator will first need to make sure that the empowered official, the person, has the empowered official role set up for them in user management. The empowered official will also need an approved digital certificate. DEX currently accepts the following: the IdenTrust ECA Medium Assurance Digital Certificate and the ORC WidePoint ECA Medium Assurance Digital Certificate. And a quick tip, if you have the IdenTrust one, please be sure to check out their Certificate Management Center to test your certificate. Also, DEX has the following requirements for digital certificates. As mentioned, it needs to be an ECA level certificate. It must be a web browser-based certificate, so not a smart card or a hard token, and it must be current, as in not expired. Another problem that we run into on our help desk or that we hear from users could be solved by making sure that the email address that is used for your digital certificate must match your DEX login email. So if you're running into any issues with your digital certificate, we recommend that you start by working with the vendor. So if you've worked with the vendor and you can still not access DEX, please submit a support ticket to our help desk with a screenshot of your issue and any error message. Francis will walk you through how to submit a support ticket at the end of today's presentation. So now that all of that's out of the way, I'm going to walk you through what it looks like when an empowered official accesses the application. So if you log on to DEX and you go to licensing, you, as an empowered official, you should see a select a certificate pop-up. If you see this pop-up, you'll know that your digital certificate is installed on your workstation. Select the certificate and click OK. Now you're going to land on your licensing dashboard. Another quick tip is if you have a lot of licenses here and you're looking for one to sign and submit, we do recommend clicking the checkbox for Show Applications Awaiting My Signature to shrink the number of licenses on your screen to just those needing your attention. On my screen, I can see that Demo Application Number 2 is awaiting my review and signature. So after reviewing the application, navigate to the applicant statement, which is always the final block of any of our licenses. And once again, if your digital certificate is installed correctly, your name will be auto-populated in the signature block. So if you get to this point on a DSC-5 and you're up at that gray bar and you're trying to type your name in and it's not working, your issue is with your digital certificate. Review the entire applicant statement, and then when you're ready, click Sign and Submit. Click OK to confirm that you do want to submit this application as is to DDTC for review. And then you will get a successful submission pop-up with your case number and your submission date. Click OK. And now this application will be available in track status, the feature that Chris showed us earlier for submitted licenses. I'm now going to turn this over to Francis, who's going to give us a sneak preview of some DEX enhancements coming to you very soon.
Thanks, Lisa. Now I'll provide a preview of the changes that are coming in DEX soon. Our team has made several updates to the DEX Industry Service Portal pages both externally and internally. The changes we have made will provide a more consistent look and feel and a better user experience. The screenshot you see here will be the new landing page when visiting the DEX Industry Service Portal. You will now see the same look and feel that we have in our internal portal. This change provides a more consistent user experience. We have relocated the enrollment video. The video is now located under the enrollment page when users click on the Enroll button. This allows users that are in the process of enrolling to have access to the video for reference. We have added a description to both the sign up for a DEX user account and login to DEX columns. These descriptions provide users with a quick explanation on why they would need to enroll with DEX or what is needed to log into DEX. Below the Enroll and Login buttons, we have added the Need Help section. This section has two buttons. The first is the FAQs button. When clicked, users will be taken to a page where all the knowledge articles are located. We highly encourage you to view the FAQ site because there's a lot of great information our team has put together for you. And the next button is the Contact Us button. When clicked, the user will be taken to the Contact Us page where the users that do not have a DEX account yet can send the response team or the help desk an email. When emailing either team, a support case will be created for their inquiry. After the user has clicked on the Login button and has completed the multi-factor authentication, either by using Okta Verify or voice call authentication, the user will be taken to this page, which is our internal DEX Industry Service Portal. On the top navigation bar, we have added the Search DEX FAQs link, and this link allows users to see all the DEX-related knowledge articles. For example, if users have questions on how to download a registration notification letter, we now have a knowledge article that explains how to download the letter to your computer in a step-by-step format and with screenshots. To the right of the Search DEX FAQs, we have added the My Support Case link. Next. The first screenshot shows the My Support Cases link with a blue counter to the right of the link. This number shows all the support requests the user has. If the counter or that number has a red background as shown in the second screenshot, this means that the user has support cases that are awaiting an action to be taken from the user. When clicking on the My Support Cases link, as shown in the third screenshot, a drop-down menu will display with the following choices. Need attention cases. These cases are cases that require attention from the user. Open cases, these are cases that have recently been submitted or that our agents are actively working on. And create a new support case. We will cover how to create a new support case later in the webinar. Navigating to the content area, we have moved the popular questions up under the Need Help section. This allows the users to see the 5 most popular questions, and a lot of the times, these questions provide the answers you're looking for. Based on the user feedback we've received during the DEX user group meeting, we have made a change to the user management application. To navigate to the user management application, users will need to click on the Applications menu and then click on the User Management option from the drop-down. If the login user is a corporate administrator, the user will see the Company Users section. This section will now display the last login column. This column allows the corporate administrator to see when their users last logged in. Now I will walk you through how to create a support case. Before creating a support case, we highly encourage you to review the knowledge article section. This is a great starting point of finding answers to questions or issues you may be experiencing. These articles can be found by clicking the Search DEX FAQs or viewing the popular questions that I just mentioned before. If the knowledge articles do not answer your question or help you resolve the issue, the best way to contact us is via a support case. The link to create a support case is available under the Need Help section or by clicking My Support Cases on the top navigation bar. After clicking the Create Support Case link, users will see the Create a Support Case form. We ask when creating the support case, you help us categorize your issue as either help desk or response team. The help desk provides technical support. So for example, issues requesting corporate administrator roles, issues with accessing the licensing or registration, or any application-related issues, those are all considered help desk questions. The response team provides guidance on basic regulatory and process questions. After you categorize the support kit as either help desk or response team, you are asked to fill out the required fields, and those fields are marked with a red asterisk. When clicking on What Can We Help You With Today field, we ask you that you help us further categorize your support case by selecting the category and subcategory that best describes your issue. Under the What Can We Help You With Today question, you will see a short description field. Please provide a very high-level description of the issue you're experiencing or the question you may have. Note that as you're typing in the short description field, the DEX Help Search is populating below with the knowledge articles that may have the answer to your question. So I encourage you to see if those articles displayed below help you answer your issue. If not, please continue to submit your case. If the articles did not answer your questions and you want to continue with your support case, we do ask that in the detailed description section, you add as much information as you can. So for example, if your case is a technical issue or a help desk issue, please include the browser you're using, any troubleshooting steps that have taken, and provide any screenshots if possible. After all the required fields are filled in, click the Submit button. After submission, you'll be taken to the Case Details section. This is where you will see your case number, the status of your case, and the agent assigned to your case. This is also where you can add notes to your case, chat with your agent, and add attachments, for example, screenshots. A couple of tips and tricks to note in this portion is please do not create multiple support cases with the same issue because this will only delay the process. And if you're having a technical issue, please make sure you're using the Google Chrome browser to access our portal. This resolves most of the issues that you may experience. Alrighty, well, this concludes the self-service portion, and I'm going to turn it over to Charlie for our Q&A session.
Okay. Thank you, Francis, and Lisa, and Chris, and Wendy. So hopefully, guys, that was a lot of good information for everyone that we just went over. Again, I want to stress, I think what everyone else has been saying to this point is that we have made it a year with registration and licensing in DEX, which hopefully you all feel like we've accomplished something together. This has been a team effort. We've all gotten to this point, hopefully all in one piece. So these questions are the ones, and the tips that we presented today were primarily the ones we've heard from you, our user community, coming out of this past year, the ones, folks, things that people have been struggling with the most. So hopefully this helped smooth some of those wrinkles in the system out a little bit for everyone. But based on the fact that questions are still coming in, we know there are still more out there, so we will continue to answer them with the time we have. So with that, I'm going to ask Lisa the first question, because this is always a fun one. Whenever we do one of these webinars is, Lisa, for those people who have joined late or would like to share this information with other people that is in this webinar, will this material be available after this presentation?
Yes, it will. So we are recording this session right now, and we will be posting the recorded session with transcript on both DDTC's website as well as the Census Academy website, usually about a week after the presentation. For those of you who are going back to the DDTC site to look for it, it will be with the announcement for this webinar. So just take a look back there next week, and you should see a link for the recorded webinar.
There you go. See, nice and easy one. And again, if anybody has any issues, please reach out to us. Accessing any of that information, we'll be sure to make sure we get you that the information that we have available, this material. Something else that a couple of people have been asking is specifically the stuff that Francis was going through. Lisa or Francis, the timeline for that release, do we have a date when we can expect to see that in the system?
Sure, Charlie, I can take that one. This is Lisa. We are wrapping up the final steps for this, and we want to make sure when we launch it that all of our FAQs and all of our documentation is up to date. We are expecting to have everything online by April 1st.
There you go. I think everybody will be excited to see that, hopefully. I do like the new look and feel, making it feel like it's more cohesive. Francis, I'm a big fan. So thanks for those changes. All right, and then the other one that we're getting quite a bit is questions about ELISA and status. So first of all, we are still using the ELISA system, for those of you who may not be familiar, to track license status. That is still the main avenue for that information. But ELISA is not managed by DDTC. That is managed by a separate organization over at DTSA, over at DTSA. So they are going through some system updates and changes, and they are having some issues keeping the search feature available. So right now, we will refer you to that organization if you need assistance looking for that information, but unfortunately, we don't have anything to provide this audience at this point on that, on the progress they're making with that issue. So we are doing all we can on our end to support them, but unfortunately, that's out of our control. So we're working on it. Or I should say, we're keeping an eye on it. That's more appropriate. There we go. All right, Francis, I've got one for you. This is a specific question, but I think this applies to people who have questions about their access and emails with their digital certificates. The question specifically is, my company is acquiring another DDTC registered company. The personnel will keep their existing email, so can they keep their existing DEX account and digital certificates and be still invited to join the company's DEX account?
Okay, if I understand the question correctly, yes, you should be able to do that. The email on the digital, if you're keeping the same email, the email on the digital certificate should match the email that you're using to log into DEX. So if those two things are not changing and there's another corporate administrator that's going to invite your team over to become part of their company, you can accept the invite and your same account will roll over to that new company.
There you go. Perfect. And Francis, correct me if I'm wrong, if you do need to change your email address for any reason, that is something that is changeable. If you're going to sign into DEX with that new email, you can contact the digital certificate, the company that provided the digital certificate, and work with them to update that. Is that correct?
Right. So if the email address that you've logged in or that you've created with DEX changes, you're going to have to close your current DEX account and open up a new DEX account with your new email, and then contacting your vendor to make sure that that email matches well.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you. And I should also mention, guys, as we're going through these answers, we are going to try to give the answers based, obviously, on the limited information we get in the chat question. If we don't quite get to the specific answer that you were looking for, again, just like Francis was going through, in terms of submitting the tickets, please reach out to us through that support center system, create a ticket, log it. We will get to the experts who can answer the finer points if we don't get to them here today. But that is, I would say, the best avenue to get in touch with us to make sure that you are going to get the right information to get the full answer to your question. All right. So I'm going to try one. Somebody asked the question specifically, will there be a print functionality edited in the registration module? They were specifically saying it would be nice to have a printing feature to see all of the sections. I get the feeling this person is from a very large company, as they have over 150 locations on the website when not all fields can be uncollapsed. So my answer to that is there is a print feature in the upper blue menu bar on the registration application that will print out all of the data entered as if it was a printed paper submitted form. Now, what I will say to that is it is not a true blank form. So what I mean is if you don't enter data into, I'm trying to think of an example, Block 8, I think is affiliates and subsidiaries. If you don't have any affiliates or subsidiaries, there won't be a section to enter any. The printed form will not come out with that information because it would just be printing blanks. So I'm not sure if that quite answers the question. So if there's more information needed on that, obviously reach out. But there is that print button available, which would at least print a more visible copy in one scrollable document, if that helps. Okay. Let's go with another one. Lisa, I think this is a licensing group question. So can any user of a group, so just a user of a licensing group, add an item to that group, or is that only functionality for corporate administrator?
It is only for the corporate administrator. So if you happen to be a user in a group and you are a corporate administrator, you can do that. So you'll either need to go through your corporate administrators and just make sure, and if a corporate administrator on your company doesn't know too much about access groups, I would recommend going to our website, getting the user guide on this, having them tune into at least that portion of the webinar from today once it's posted. But yes, it needs to be the corporate administrator who sets it up, or if you believe you should be a corporate administrator, either work with your current one to get that access or, work with our help desk. And you'll have to follow some certain requirements to become a corporate administrator for your company. But to answer the question, only for CAs.
All right. Thank you. Francis, did you want to walk through those steps about how to become a corporate administrator if you're not, as long as we're dipping our toe in that topic?
Sure. How to become a corporate administrator. The first thing would be is if your company has a corporate administrator, just ask them to grant you that role. If your company does not, then we will need a support case created with a corporate administrator letter. And the letter needs to have, your company information, your registration code, and there's the actual template is stored in one of the knowledge articles that's under the corporate administrator section. Once we receive that letter, we'll be able to grant you that role. If you're a senior officer, you can just create a support case and just provide us the letter of your last year's renewal, and then we'll be able to grant you that corporate administrator role that's needed.
There you go. So if anybody was curious, that's how you do it. And also, we should always, whenever we're talking about a corporate administrator, I feel like we've said this in webinars, several webinars before, is if you can, always have more than one, because then you have a backup when people need to go on vacation or are out for an unexpected reason or maybe can't get back to their office. Gee, wonder why. This would be the perfect opportunity to have backups for that access so that people can make sure you've always got somebody with the ability to grant license access, ability to sign registrations and submit them. It's good to have that coverage. Okay. Thank you, Francis. Actually, Francis, I'm going to push this next one back to you as well, because it's our good old buddy, the multi-factor verification with Okta. The classic question of if somebody breaks their phone, they had the app, they were using it to sign in, and now they had to get a new phone, how do you reset your multi-factor access to get back into DEX?
I love those questions. That's an easy question here. So what you're going to need, if you do change your cell phone or you just need a new code, you will need to create a support case. So if you can go into the site, or if you can't log in, send us an email via the Contact Us button, and we will be able to reset the Okta verification or the multi-factor authentication. And then you'll be, once you log back in, then you'll be asked to select whether you have an Apple phone or a Android, and then kind of go through that process of re-registering with the Okta Verify.
There you go. And of course, all of the process of logging back in and reestablishing that connection through Okta Verify, that's also out on the website as well, and our documentation and our FAQs. So We're ready for you. We knew that question was coming. Because guess what? It's happened before. How many times, Francis, you think? Like, are we in the hundreds, thousands?
A lot, yes.
So you're not alone. We are all in this together. We know what you're going through. Okay. So I've got a couple questions, Lisa, on license notifications. So the first one is, does a notification go out if a license is rejected, as in who would get that notification? And is it possible that a feature would be added to send a notification to the empowered officials when licenses are awaiting their signature?
All right. So I assume that in this question, notification is referring to an email. So at this time, DEX registration and DEX licensing does not have the email notifications configured in the system. So how we recommend right now is if you are a drafter and sending something to an empowered official in licensing, or within registration, if you're sending something to your senior officer, that you do let them know. And then, you know, we hear you loud and clear that this is a request. So our IT team is aware, and we will absolutely let you know as the feature is built and comes available. But right now, there are no built-in notifications for licensing or registration.
Right. But again, it is something that I think, again, that is a familiar request that we have heard from people, is that as much as we don't want to flood people's inboxes, the occasional notification, it seems to be helpful. So we are still looking into that for sure. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. Francis, how about another corporate administrator question? I get the feeling this is coming from international audiences. Are corporate administrators still only applicable for U.S. applicants? And is there any update on changing that for overseas folks?
Not that I'm aware of, that we don't have a change, but as of right now, it is still only applicable for U.S. applicants.
Yep. Just so that folks know, that is also a topic we have been discussing quite thoroughly with our DEX user group. So that topic was raised a couple of months ago in our first meeting. So that topic is something that is a high priority to DDTC. We know that is something that we need to address. So more on that later, for sure. Let's see if we've got some more questions out there. The same question, Francis, just to be sure, I'm going through the Identrust certificate program. Once I get that, but then I switch a laptop to like a desktop. You know, when I'm working from home now, I am working from my laptop. I'm eventually going to go back to the office. How is my digital certificate going to travel with me?
So I believe that Identrust, you can install the Identrust certificates on more than one computer, but I would encourage you to check with the vendor. As far as the DEX service portal goes, as long as your email stays consistent, which it should, you would have no problem accessing our site.
There you go. Thank you.
Actually, Charlie, this is Chris. Could I add something to that?
Absolutely, please do.
Awesome. So I do know that you can have a digital certificate on more than one computer, but I was instructed that having it on more than one computer will make it not work. So you can move the digital certificate from computer to computer, and like Francis mentioned, as long as the emails match with DEX and the Identrust certificate email, everything should work perfectly fine. But definitely go to Identrust and ensure that the steps to make your digital certificate work on the new computer that you're moving to, the only step is that you'd have to delete it from the laptop. So I would advise going to Identrust and looking at some of their documentation and ensuring that that's the best way.
Okay. Good thinking. See? And Chris, you have this knowledge because you were just going through the process, right? So
that is most definitely right.
We also are going through this process, gang. We're right there with you. Okay. Thanks, Chris. That was good. Francis, a question came in on the general, category of commodity jurisdictions. So the question is, are commodity jurisdictions requests done through DEX now?
Yes. So to access the commodity jurisdiction application, the users will need to go to the application menu on the top navigation bar, and from the drop-down, select the CJ or commodity jurisdiction drop-down menu. And then you can click the Start a New CJ Request, and then it'll walk you through all the blocks that we have there for the CJ application. And everything is done via DEX.
Yep. That one's we've been using that one now for a while. So yes, please take advantage of that access. All right. A quick question came in also. I threw out the DEX user group. So Lisa, we got a question kicked back to us. Heard you just mention it. What is that? Can I join?
Awesome. Great question. So the DEX user group is in its inaugural year this year. So I think we posted it on our website last November. This is a recommendation from our friends at DTAG that we have a group that can really help us think through, talk about the pain points from the user's perspective, and help us solution some potential ideas. So you can absolutely join next year. So just for your awareness, it's a quarterly committee meeting. So we're going to have one coming up in April. We've been getting lots of good ideas about some things that, maybe we hadn't thought of. So, for example, as Francis showed, the corporate administrator now being able to see the last login for their users. So I would recommend we'll have a couple more of these webinars throughout 2021, but so we will remind you, we'll make sure that we blast out the email. But essentially, we will post it on our website towards the end of this calendar year for interest in joining in 2022.
There you go. And we welcome all feedback any way that we can get it. Specifically, the DEX user group is a good formal approach for us. But if you're not part of the DEX user group, we still want to hear from you. So please reach out. We want to hear more information and make sure our users are getting what they need to out of the system. So perfect. Thanks, Lisa. All right. Here's a good one, just to make sure everyone is familiar with this one. Lisa, can I go back to you on the registration pay question? How do I pay for a registration?
Sure, yes. So when and how to pay for a DEX registration is all right there located on your registration dashboard. So if you remember back towards the beginning of the presentation when Chris was showing what it looked like on the registration dashboard when he hopped in to renew, it's important to pay attention to the status of your registration. So for those of you who've been working with DDTC for a little while, we were paying on upfront. We've switched the process around a little bit with DEX, so you're paying after approval. So you'll notice when your registration application is going through the process, through analyst review and officer review and approval, at some point your status will be that it's ready to make a payment. It can all be done through the DEX interface, and it sort of walks you through just like a standard online payment. But my advice is to wait until you see it in that status. Don't seek out a way to pay us. Don't send us a check. Don't do anything there. It will all be done through DEX when your status is in make payment. Once your payment goes through successfully, you'll be able to get your registration letter.
Perfect. I know, Lisa, I always appreciate how you avoid the temptation of the cheesy joke to fill out the check directly to Lisa and send it. And we'll make sure it's I know. But no, the system manages it all. It's much more streamlined for this. And this, I think, gives users so much more, control over exactly how they want to pay. It takes the human error element out of it a lot better. So it's a lot more comforting this way. Francis, we got a couple questions since we brought up CJs, specifically in how commodity jurisdictions and the functionality within that application differs from SnapR. Do you have an answer for that one?
No, you got me there. I'm not really too familiar with the SnapR.
I only asked because I was like, we got a couple on it. But yeah, I'm not as familiar with SnapR either. So I think that's one where if folks are questioning, we will make sure we put something out on the website, track that one down. But if you have specific questions, please send that question directly to the support team. We'll make sure we get that back out. Well, how about this one, Francis? When you're in commodity jurisdictions and I have, like there's a response, it looks like it was completed, how do I get to that final determination letter?
Okay, so when a CJ has been closed and a final determination letter has been uploaded to the CJ case, what's going to happen is the user, when they log into the CJ application and they view their CJ launching pad, they'll see the closed CJ. So it has a green border. It's a green tile. Right next to it on the bottom right corner of that tile where the status of closed is, there's a view button or a view link. Click on that link, and that's going to open the CJ record or the CJ application in the read-only mode. But on the very top of that CJ, you'll have a green banner that says, final determination letter, and then right next to it, there's a link to view the final determination letter. And usually if you click on it, the PDF will display. But we have had issues where if your company is blocking Box.com, you will not be able to see the letter. So when you click on that link to download it, you'll only see a blank screen. So if you do see that, check out the knowledge article that we have under commodity jurisdiction, and we have a step-by-step article out there that helps you kind of work with your internal IT department to make sure that the Box.com is added to your trusted sources. But that's how you'll see the final determinations, by logging into your CJ and then clicking the link on the very top on the green banner.
There you go. Hopefully that made sense. Always a little tough. Francis, I can picture exactly what you're describing. So hopefully, folks, if you are familiar with the CJ system and commodity jurisdiction system and have seen it before, you know where Francis was going. That was a little tough without the visuals right in front of us. So if you need more help, obviously let us know.
And there's also, Charlie, on that, there's also a knowledge article under the CJ application that walks you straight, step by step with the screenshots on how exactly to do that.
There you go. Even better. Thanks, Francis. Perfect. All right. We had one person write in and say they were accessing the portal. They're able to check on their license. But their question is specifically, do I need then to register every year to maintain access to DEX? So I want to respond to this one just to make sure that folks understand the terminology. There's a difference between enrolling and registering. So enrolling in the system is signing up, making sure that the system knows your email address, and we know who you specifically are and can grant you access to the information for your company. Registering is when your company is actually registered with DDTC. So that registration will will be processed by DDTC to set you up as an organization, recognized organization. You do not need to register every year, but you will need to renew your registration every year. So it doesn't need to be a brand new one. The renewal option comes up, and team, correct me if I'm wrong, you can start the process 90 days out from your renewal date. You can start submitting your renewal 60 days out from your renewal date, and we encourage folks to submit as early as they can to give our teams time to review your renewal and process it. But renewal processes usually go smoother than initial registrations, depending on the amount of data that may have changed year to year. But the renewal process is much smoother. You do not need to re-enroll in DEX. If you have an active account in DEX, that is active until a corporate administrator changes that status. Otherwise, you will remain active and associated with your company until some actions are taken. Did I get all that right, guys?
Sounds like me.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Then, let's see. Lisa, you want the last one? I think we got time for one more here.
Let's do it.
The registration letter question. Specifically, where do you find it?
Great question, because I know the answer. Once again, just like the answer to the make payment one, we've made it easy for you that all of your registration information is in one place. So if you're looking for your most recent registration letter or anything, your historical information, go to that registration dashboard. You just might need to scroll down a little bit, and you'll see the hyperlinked registration letter. And once again, if you're looking for your new one, make sure that the status is all the way through to approved, and that you've done your payments, and that there's nothing, it wasn't RWA'd, and it's not awaiting anything from you. So if you're looking for that letter, just make sure you're checking in on your registration dashboard.
There you go. All right, I'm going to throw one more in there, Lisa. Now that you pointed out, somebody asked the question, because as we talked about the payments, if the fee process is the same, because we usually pay the fee and then renew our registration. Is that the right order still, or no?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So the question is, specifically, do you pay to renew your registration and then process your renewal application?
Okay. No, you, once again, just keep an eye on that status. The make payment status is towards the end. So go ahead, start your renewal. Once you're in that renewal window, make it through. It'll go over to DDTC for review, and then once it's all approved, just like a new registration, that's when you'll make your payment.
The best part about this process is that DDTC, the system, and DEX will tell you when we are ready to accept that payment, when the renewal has been approved. We're not going to make you guys remember and send us money on your own. The system will tell you exactly when we're ready for it and take it and process it, all automated, so you don't have to take that responsibility on of remembering on your own anymore. We'll tell you when we need it. Perfect. All right. With that, I think I've got a spare 30 seconds. So I will say thanks, everyone, for joining us again today. I'm sure there are more questions out there. But again, I think like all of us have stressed today, again, please go back to the website, use the support teams, research those FAQs and knowledge documents out there on our website. We are trying to keep these going, so hopefully we will be able to speak to you all again at the next webinar sometime in June. But until then, keep working in DEX, and we'll see you all later.
Okay, great. Excellent webinar. Once again, thank you all for your participation today, and special thanks to Lisa Parker, Chris Radcliffe, Charlie Liebetraw, and Francis Moore. I believe all the companies are set up for success with DEX, and they've learned what's coming next, and they had an opportunity to ask an array of questions. So great job, just fantastic. So once again, I wanted to thank all the panelists for this informative webinar, and if there are no other questions, this completes the webinar for today. Thank you for joining, and please visit the Census website for future outreach events. This completes the webinar. Please be safe.